Rain hammered against the windows of Sterling's diner, a relentless rhythm that matched the pounding in Sarah Mitchell's chest. She stood behind the counter, her fingers trembling as she counted the crumpled bills in her apron pocket. $7. $7.32 to be exact. That was all she had left. Until Friday. And today was only Monday. Table 12 needs a refill, barked Marcus, the night manager, without looking up from his phone. Sarah nodded, her throat too tight to respond. Table 12, the man in the expensive suit, the one who'd been sitting there for 3 hours, nursing the same cup of coffee, watching everything with those cold, calculating eyes. She'd noticed him the moment he walked in. How could she not? His suit probably cost more than her car. If her car hadn't been repossessed last week, his watch, some sleek silver thing that caught the light, probably cost more than she'd make in a year, maybe 2 years. But it wasn't the obvious wealth that unsettled her. It was the way he watched people. Like a scientist observing lab rats. Like he was studying something, searching for something. Sarah grabbed the coffee pot, willing her hands to stop shaking. The diner was nearly empty now. Just the suited man at table 12, old Mrs. Chen in the corner booth, and him, the homeless man by the door. She'd seen him before, hovering outside, never coming in. Tonight he'd finally entered, drawn in by the cold rain and the promise of warmth. He sat at the counter, 3 stools down from where she stood, his clothes soaked through, his hands wrapped around a glass of water Marcus had grudgingly provided. "Ma'am?" His voice was soft, apologetic. "I don't suppose. I have 47 cents. Is there anything—" Sarah's heart cracked. She knew that voice. The voice of someone who'd fallen through the cracks. Someone the world had stopped seeing. She glanced at Marcus, who was conveniently engrossed in his phone. Then at the suited man, who'd stopped pretending to read his newspaper and was now watching. Always watching. Her shift meal sat in the kitchen. 1 cheeseburger and fries. The only real food she'd eat today. Tomorrow she'd make do with ramen noodles and tap water. Maybe some saltine crackers she kept in her locker. She'd done it before. She could do it again. "Give me just a moment," she whispered to the homeless man, whose eyes filled with something that looked dangerously close to hope. Sarah walked to the kitchen, her mind racing. This was stupid. This was absolutely stupid. She had a daughter at home, Emma. Sweet, trusting 6-year-old Emma, who didn't understand why they'd had to leave their apartment last month, why they were staying with Aunt Julie now, why Mommy cried in the bathroom when she thought no one was listening. But as Sarah stared at her meal, still warm under the heat lamp, she thought about last winter, about the night she and Emma had been locked out of their apartment, the landlord having changed the locks 3 days early, about the stranger who'd bought them hot chocolate at a gas station, who'd paid for a motel room for the night. No questions asked. She'd never even gotten his name. What goes around comes around, her mother used to say. Sarah had stopped believing that. But standing there, holding that plate, she wanted to believe, needed to believe, that kindness still mattered. That one small act, one tiny gesture in an ocean of cruelty, could mean something. She carried the plate to the counter, set it down in front of the homeless man, and smiled. "On the house," she said softly. The man stared at the food like it was a mirage. I can't, please," Sarah insisted. "I already ate." The lie tasted bitter. "It'll just go to waste." At table 12, the billionaire set down his newspaper for the first time that night. He leaned forward, and he began to truly pay attention. Alexander Stone hadn't become a billionaire by accident. He'd built his empire, Stone Industries, from nothing, from a single patent and a dream and 16-hour days that turned into 16-hour nights. He'd learned early that the world was divided into 2 types of people, those who took and those who got taken, and he'd vowed, sworn on his father's grave, that he'd never be the latter again. But lately, something had shifted. At 52 years old, with more money than he could spend in 3 lifetimes, Alexander found himself asking questions he'd buried decades ago. Questions that kept him awake at night, staring at the ceiling of his penthouse, wondering if this was all there was. Money, power, and a gnawing emptiness that no acquisition could fill. His therapist, the fourth one this year, had suggested something radical. Go out into the world, Dr. Morrison had said during their last session. Not as Alexander Stone, CEO, just as a man. Watch people. Really watch them. See what you've been missing. So here he was, in a rundown diner in the worst part of town, watching, and what he'd seen, in the past 3 hours, had depressed him beyond measure. People lost in their phones, a couple arguing in harsh whispers, a teenager shoplifting sugar packets, selfishness, desperation, survival. Nothing that surprised him, nothing that challenged his worldview. Until her, the waitress, Sarah. According to her name tag, he'd noticed her immediately. Not because she was beautiful, though she was in a tired, worn-down sort of way. No, he'd noticed her because of her hands, the way they trembled when she counted her tips. The way she'd eaten 3 saltine crackers from her apron pocket, quickly, furtively, like she was ashamed. The way she'd carefully folded a $5 bill and tucked it into a separate pocket. Protection money, he'd guessed, for something important. Alexander had built his career on reading people, on understanding motivation, on predicting behavior, and Sarah Mitchell. He'd glimpsed her ID when she'd refilled his coffee, was barely holding on. He could see it in every gesture, every forced smile, every moment she thought no one was watching. So when the homeless man had shuffled in, Alexander had expected the inevitable. The manager would kick him out, or the waitress would ignore him, or she'd call the police. That's what people did. That's what he would have done, back when he was building his company, back when he couldn't afford compassion. But Sarah had done something else entirely. Alexander watched, transfixed, as she disappeared into the kitchen. He saw her stand there, staring at a plate of food, saw the moment of hesitation, the internal struggle playing out across her face. And then, the decision. She'd picked up the plate, her only meal, and brought it to the homeless man. On the house, she'd said. The lie was obvious. Alexander had seen her eat those crackers, had seen the hunger in her eyes. This wasn't generosity from abundance. This was sacrifice. Real sacrifice. The homeless man, tears streaming down his weathered face, picked up the burger with shaking hands. God bless you, he whispered. God bless you, miss, Sarah just smiled, that tired, beautiful smile, and turned away. Alexander saw her press a hand to her stomach, saw her swallow hard, saw her blink back tears, and something inside Alexander Stone, something he thought had died 20 years ago, cracked open. He pulled out his phone, fingers moving quickly across the screen. A few taps, a few commands. Within seconds, he had everything. Sarah Mitchell, age 32, single mother. Daughter Emma, age 6, evicted 3 weeks ago. Car repossessed, credit score in the basement, working double shifts, barely making minimum wage. Medical debt from Emma's hospital visit last year, still unpaid, a life hanging by a thread, and she just given away her only meal. Alexander stood up. He left $200 bills under his coffee cup, enough to cover a $5 coffee 100 times over. Then he walked to the counter, where Sarah was pretending to wipe down surfaces that were already clean. Excuse me, he said quietly. Sarah turned, and for the first time, they made eye contact. Up close, he could see the exhaustion, the fear, the stubborn hope that refused to die. Yes, sir. Did you need anything else? Alexander smiled, not his boardroom smile, not his investor smile. Something real, something human. Actually, he said slowly, deliberately, I need to ask you something important, and I need you to answer honestly. Maya's first instinct was fear. In her experience, when someone like him, someone who radiated money and power, wanted to ask her something, it was never good. She'd learned that lesson working retail through college. Rich people asking questions usually meant complaints, accusations, problems. Sure, she managed, wiping her hands on her apron nervously. What do you need? Ethan glanced at the homeless kid, who was eating slowly, savoring every bite like it was his last meal, which it might have been. Then he looked back at Maya, his expression unreadable. Why did you do that? He asked simply. Maya blinked. Do what? Give him your food. Ethan's voice was soft, but there was an intensity behind it, a hunger for understanding. That was your meal. Your shift meal. I've been here for 2 hours, and I haven't seen you eat anything except crackers. So why? Did you give it away? Heat flooded Maya's cheeks. He'd been watching her. Really watching her. The humiliation was instant, visceral. He'd seen her poverty, her desperation, her weakness. She wanted to run, to disappear, to tell him it was none of his business. But something in his eyes stopped her. He wasn't mocking her. He wasn't pitying her. He was curious, genuinely curious. Like her answer actually mattered. Maya started, then stopped. How could she explain? How could she make someone like him, someone who'd probably never missed a meal in his life, understand? He needed it more than I did. Did he? Ethan challenged gently. You're shaking. You've been eating crackers all night. You're clearly hungry, so, mathematically, you needed it just as much as he did. Maya felt tears prick her eyes. It's not about math, she whispered. It's about, I don't know. Being human? He's a kid. He's out there in the rain with nothing. I have a roof over my head. I have a job. I'll eat tomorrow. But tonight, he needed someone to see him, to treat him like he matters. Ethan was quiet for a long moment. Behind them, the homeless kid finished his sandwich and carefully folded the napkin. Tears still streamed down his face, silent and steady. What's your name? Ethan asked suddenly. Maya Chen. Maya. He said it slowly, like he was testing it. I'm Ethan, and I need to tell you something. Something important. Can you take a break? Just 5 minutes? Maya glanced at Derek, who was now watching TikTok videos with his earbuds in. The diner was empty except for Mr. Patterson, who'd fallen asleep over his newspaper. I guess? But I really can't afford to lose this job. So if this is some kind of complaint, it's not a complaint. Ethan pulled out his phone. It's an offer. But first, I need you to trust me. Can you do that? Every alarm bell in Maya's head went off. Strange man offers, trust me. She'd heard this before. She knew how this story ended. Look, I'm not hitting on you, Ethan said quickly, reading her panic. I promise. This is about what you just did, about the choice you made. Please, 5 minutes. That's all I'm asking. Maya looked at the homeless kid, who was now standing, ready to leave. He caught her eye and mouthed thank you one more time. Then he was gone, back into the rain, into the night, into invisibility. And Maya thought, what did she have to lose? She was already broke, already desperate, already hanging on by a thread. 5 minutes wouldn't change that. Okay, she said finally. 5 minutes. Ethan gestured to a booth in the corner. Maya followed, her heart pounding. He sat down and opened his laptop, fingers flying across the keyboard. Then he turned the screen toward her. Maya stared. It was her information, everything, her address, her debt, her mother's medical records, her student loans, her credit score, her job history, her entire life, laid out in spreadsheets and documents. How did you? She felt sick, violated, exposed. I'm sorry, Ethan said, and he actually sounded it. I know this is invasive, but I needed to understand, needed to know if what I just witnessed was real, and it was. Maya, you just gave away your only meal. While you're drowning in debt, while you're working 3 jobs, while your mother needs medication you can barely afford. You sacrificed, when you had nothing to sacrifice. Who are you? Maya whispered, fear creeping into her voice. What do you want? Ethan took a breath. My name is Ethan Ross. I created StreamSync. Maybe you've heard of it? Maya's eyes widened. Everyone had heard of StreamSync. It was the app, the one that had changed everything, the one that had made its creator billions. You're him? I'm him, Ethan nodded. And for the last month, I've been going to places like this, watching people, testing them, trying to find something, someone, anyone, who would choose kindness over survival. Do you know how many people I've watched? How many situations I've observed? Maya shook her head, speechless. 47, Ethan said quietly. 47 different scenarios. Bus stations, Coffee shops, parks, diners, and every single time. People chose themselves. Every single time until tonight. Until you. He closed his laptop and leaned forward. Maya Chen, I want to change your life. But first, you need to make a choice. Maya's head was spinning. This couldn't be real. Things like this didn't happen to people like her. Billionaires didn't sit in rundown diners, watching waitresses, offering to change lives. This was a prank, a cruel joke. Or worse, something dangerous. I don't understand, she said carefully, every instinct telling her to run. What kind of choice? Ethan pulled out his phone and opened his banking app. Maya watched, frozen, as he navigated to a transfer screen. Her name was already entered. Maya Chen, her account number, somehow, was already there. I'm going to ask you a question, Ethan said slowly, deliberately. And depending on your answer, I'm going to transfer money into your account. Right now. Right here. Before you leave this booth, Maya's mouth went dry. How much money? That depends. Ethan's finger hovered over the screen. Here's the question, Maya, and I need you to answer from your heart, not from desperation, not from fear, from the same place that made you give away your dinner tonight. He paused, letting the weight of the moment settle between them. If I gave you $50,000 right now, what would you do with it? $50,000. Maya couldn't breathe. That was everything. That was her mother's medication for 2 years. That was her student loans. That was rent and food and security and breathing room and hope. That was a life raft in an ocean where she'd been drowning for so long. Her voice cracked. Is this real? It's real. But Maya, I need the truth. What would you do? Maya's mind raced. What was the right answer? What did he want to hear? That she'd invest it? Save it? Use it wisely? Rich people loved that. They loved responsible poor people. Poor people who made good choices. Poor people who deserved help. But Ethan had said, answer from your heart. I'd pay for my mom's medication, Maya said quietly. She has MS multiple sclerosis. The drugs she needs, insurance doesn't cover all of it. We're always behind, always choosing between her health and everything else. So that's first. Her medication, maybe 6 months worth. That's about $15,000. Ethan nodded. Not typing yet, just listening. Then, I'd pay off my credit cards. They're maxed out. Medical debt, mostly. From when Mom had that bad relapse last year. The ambulance ride alone was $3,000. So that's another $8,000. Maybe $9,000. She was crying now. She couldn't help it. The fantasy of it. The impossible dream of having enough. Then I'd pay ahead on our rent. Maybe 3 months. So we'd have breathing room, so I wouldn't wake up every day terrified we'd be evicted again. That's $4,500. And I'd buy my mom a new wheelchair. Her current one is falling apart. A good one costs maybe $2,000. Maya wiped her eyes, doing the math in her head. That's $34,500. The rest, I'd put toward my tuition. I'm 2 semesters away from my nursing degree. If I could just finish, I could get a real job. A job that pays enough. A job where I'm not drowning. She looked up at Ethan, expecting judgment, expecting disappointment, expecting him to tell her she'd failed some test. Instead, he was smiling, a real smile. Sad and proud and something else she couldn't name. That's beautiful, Maya, he said softly. That's exactly what I hoped you'd say. He typed something on his phone, clicked confirmed. And then, he turned the screen toward her. Transfer complete. $50,000 to Maya Chen. Maya stared. The numbers didn't make sense. Couldn't make sense. What? You actually, I did. Ethan set his phone down. Check your account. It's there, with shaking hands. Maya pulled out her phone, logged into her banking app, and there it was. $50,000. Her account. Real, actual. Money. She couldn't breathe. Couldn't think. This was impossible. Why? She gasped. Why would you do this? Ethan leaned back, his expression serious now. Because for the last year, I've been trying to figure out if humanity is worth saving. If people, when given the choice, will choose kindness, or if we're all just selfish machines, optimizing for survival. He gestured toward the counter, where the homeless kid had sat. You were hungry, broke, desperate, and you gave away your food. You chose compassion when it cost you everything. That matters, Maya. That matters more than you know. Maya was sobbing now, full gasping sobs. Thank you. Thank you. I can't. I don't. But Maya, Ethan continued, and something in his tone made her look up. That was just the first test. The 50,000. That's yours. No strings. No payback. It's done. But now, I have a second offer. And this one is going to be harder. Maya couldn't imagine anything harder than what she'd just experienced. What do you mean? Ethan pulled out a business card. Heavy stock. Embossed letters. An address in the financial district. Tomorrow morning, I want you to come to my office. 10 a.m. There's something I want to show you. Something that will change everything. Not just for you, but for thousands of people like you. Like that kid who was just here. But it requires something from you. Something bigger than giving away a sandwich. He slid the card across the table. It requires your story, your voice, your truth. Are you willing? Maya didn't sleep. How could she? Every time she closed her eyes, she saw those numbers. $50,000 in her account. Real money, life-changing money. She'd checked her banking app 17 times, convinced it would disappear, convinced she'd wake up and it would all be a dream. But it was still there. Every time. $50,000. At 6 a.m. She gave up on sleep. Her mother was still asleep in their shared studio apartment. Breathing softly, Maya sat at their tiny kitchen table, staring at the business card Ethan had given her. Simple, elegant, just a name and an address. Ethan Ross, founder and CEO, Ross Foundation. She'd Googled him last night, for 3 hours straight, and what she'd found had terrified her. Ethan Ross wasn't just rich. He was influential, powerful, connected. He'd sold StreamSync for $800 million, then turned that into billions through investments. He sat on boards. He advised politicians. He'd been on the cover of Forbes, Time magazine, Wired, and he'd chosen her, Maya Chen, a broke waitress with a nursing degree she couldn't finish. Why? Mija? Her mother's voice, weak but warm, came from the bedroom area. You're up early. Maya quickly wiped her eyes. Yeah, Mom, just couldn't sleep. Her mother wheeled herself out, her old wheelchair squeaking with every rotation. The sight of it, knowing Maya could now buy her a new one, made fresh tears spring up. What's wrong, baby? Her mother's face creased with concern. Did something happen at work? Maya took a breath. How did you tell your mother that a billionaire had just given you $50,000? That everything might be about to change? Mom, something happened last night, something impossible. She told her everything. The homeless kid, the sandwich, Ethan watching, the conversation, the money, all of it. Her mother listened, her expression shifting from confusion to disbelief to tears. 50,000? Her mother whispered. Mija, I know. Maya grabbed her mother's hands. I can get your medication. The real stuff, not the generic that barely works. I can get you a new chair. I can pay rent for months. Mom, we can breathe. Her mother was crying now, hard. My brave girl, my kind girl, you gave away your dinner. And God sent an angel. But Maya wasn't sure about angels. Angels didn't ask for second meetings. Angels didn't say, this requires something from you. Angels didn't make her feel uncertain. He wants me to come to his office this morning, Maya said quietly. He said, there's something bigger, something that will help thousands of people. But I'm scared, Mom. What if this is... I don't know. What if there's a catch? Her mother squeezed her hands. Then you walk away. You already have the 50,000. He said no strings. So if you don't like what he's offering, you say no. But Maya, you should go. You should listen. Because people like him. They don't do things like this for no reason. Maybe you're meant for something bigger. At 9:45 a.m., Maya stood outside the Ross Foundation building. It was all glass and steel, reflecting the morning sun like a monument to success. She felt ridiculous in her best outfit, a dress she'd worn to a job interview 3 years ago. Her shoes were scuffed. Her purse was held together with safety pins. She didn't belong here. In this world of power and money and influence, she belonged in diners, in bus stops, in the invisible places where people like her survived. But she went inside anyway. The lobby was enormous. Marble floors, contemporary art, a reception desk that looked like it cost more than her car used to. A woman in a perfect suit looked up, smiled professionally. "Can I help you? I'm Maya Chen. I have a meeting with Mr. Ross." The woman's professional smile became genuine, warm. "Oh, Ms. Chen, yes, he's expecting you, please. Follow me." Maya followed, her heart pounding. They took an elevator to the 20th floor. The doors opened to reveal not an office, but a massive open space, filled with people, young people, working at computers, talking in groups, energy buzzing through the air like electricity. "This is the foundation," the receptionist explained. "Mr. Ross founded it 2 years ago. Well, he'll explain. Right this way." She led Maya to a glass-walled office at the far end, and there he was. Thin Ross, not in designer hoodies now, but in a simple black sweater and jeans. He looked up, saw Maya, and smiled. "You came," he said, and standing. "I wasn't sure you would." "I almost didn't," Maya admitted. "I'm still not sure I should have." Ethan gestured to a chair. "Fair enough. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to show you what we do here. Then, I'm going to make you an offer. And you're going to have 24 hours to decide. No pressure, no strings, just a choice. Sound good?" Maya sat down slowly. "Okay." Ethan walked to the glass wall, looking out at the people working. 2 years ago, I had everything. Money, success, power, and I was miserable, empty. I kept asking myself, what's the point? What am I building this fortune for? So I started a foundation, the Ross Foundation, and we have one mission, just one. He turned to face her, and his eyes were intense, burning with purpose. We find people who choose kindness when it costs them everything. People who give when they have nothing to give. People like you, Maya, and we amplify them. We tell their stories. We give them platforms. We fund their dreams, because I believe that kindness is contagious, that if we can show the world that compassion still exists, that humanity still matters, we can change everything. Maya's breath caught. "You want my story? Not just your story." Ethan pulled up something on his computer. Video. Maya's face appeared on screen. From last night, the diner security footage. Her giving the homeless kid her sandwich. His tears. Her smile. "I want to make you the face of a campaign. The Kindness Initiative. Videos, social media, speaking engagements, interviews. We'll tell your story. We'll tell the world that people like you exist." Maya stared at the screen, at her own face frozen in that moment of giving. She looked exhausted in the footage, worn down, poor, exactly what she was, and Ethan wanted to show that. "To the world, I don't understand," she said slowly, her voice tight. "You want to put this online? You want people to see me like this? Not like this," Ethan corrected gently. "As you are, Maya. You're not seeing what I'm seeing. Look at this footage again. Really look." He played it once more. Maya watched herself carry the plate to the homeless kid, watched the way her hands trembled, the way she smiled, despite her own hunger, the way the kid's face transformed from despair to disbelief to gratitude. "What I see," Ethan said quietly, "is someone who represents millions of people. People working 3 jobs, people drowning in medical debt, people hanging on by a thread. But you know what else I see? Dignity, compassion, humanity, the things we're losing. In a world that tells us to look out for number one." Maya's throat tightened. "But everyone will know that that we're struggling," Ethan finished. "Maya, there's no shame in that. 78% of Americans, live paycheck to paycheck, 40%, can't cover a $400 emergency. Your story, it's not unique. What's unique is what you chose to do in that moment." He pulled up something else on his computer. Articles, statistics, photos of people. The Kindness Initiative isn't about parading your poverty. It's about showing that compassion still exists, that goodness survives. even in the hardest circumstances. We've already launched with 12 other people, former teachers, who gave their pensions to students, construction workers, who built homes for homeless veterans, a nurse who donated her kidney to a stranger. Maya saw their faces. Ordinary people like her, people who'd made impossible choices. Each person we feature gets a full scholarship fund, Ethan continued, or debt forgiveness, or seed money for their dreams. We don't just tell their stories, we change their lives. And in doing so, we challenge everyone watching to ask themselves, what would I do? Would I choose kindness or self-preservation? It sounded beautiful, inspiring, world-changing, but Maya's stomach was churning. What would I have to do? Interviews? A lot of them. Probably with major networks. Maybe Good Morning America, The Today Show. We'd film a mini documentary about your life, your mother, your struggles, your nursing school dreams. Then we'd launch the campaign. On social media, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, you'd become visible. Maya had spent her entire adult life trying to be invisible. Invisible to landlords when rent was late. Invisible to debt collectors. Invisible to people like Ethan. People with power and money who usually only noticed poor people long enough to judge them. And if I say no, she whispered. Ethan's expression softened. Then you say no. The 50,000 is yours. Regardless, you walk out of here and we never speak again. I'll delete this footage. You go back to your life. No pressure, no guilt. He meant it. Maya could tell, but something was nagging at her. Why does it have to be me? You said you've been looking for a month. You found me, great, but why not find someone else? Someone who's not so broken. Because you're not broken. Ethan's voice was firm, sharp. You're surviving against impossible odds. And that's exactly the point, Maya. We don't need perfect people with perfect stories. We need real people. People who are scared and exhausted and hanging on. People who choose kindness anyway. Maya looked at her mother, who'd wheeled herself closer to listen. Her mother's eyes were wet with tears. Mija, maybe this is why it happened. Maybe you're supposed to do this. But everyone will see, Maya said desperately. Everyone at the diner. Everyone from high school. Everyone will know. We're poor, that we failed. Her mother reached out, took Maya's hand. Or everyone will see that you're strong. That you're good. That you didn't let this world make you hard. She squeezed. Baby, you've been invisible your whole life. Maybe it's time to be seen. Ethan stood up, giving them space. I'm going to step out for a few minutes. Give you time to talk, think, whatever you need. But Maya, one more thing. He pulled up a final video on his computer. Young man, maybe 25, speaking to a camera. This is David, 3 months ago. We featured him. He'd given his entire paycheck to pay for a stranger's cancer treatment. The campaign raised $600,000. He paid off his student loans, went back to school. But you know what he told me? Last week, Ethan played a voice memo. David's voice came through, thick with emotion. I got 53 letters from people who saw my story, and they told me that it made them want to be better, that it made them tip their waitress more, donate to charity, help their neighbor. One guy, he said he was going to end his life, but he saw my video, and he decided maybe the world wasn't all bad. Maybe there was still hope. The recording ended. Silence filled the office. Ethan looked at Maya, his eyes intense, burning with purpose. That's what this is really about. Not just changing your life, but reminding people that kindness is contagious. That one act, one choice, can ripple out in ways we can't imagine. He walked toward the door, then paused. You have 24 hours. My card has my direct number. Whatever you decide, I respect it. But Maya, I really hope you say yes, because the world needs to see that people like you exist. And then he was gone, leaving Maya and her mother alone, with a choice that would change everything. That night, Maya didn't sleep again. She lay in the dark, listening to her mother's breathing from across the room, staring at the ceiling, thinking about visibility, about being seen. Her whole life, she'd been invisible. The kid in the back of the classroom, Who never raised her hand? The girl at prom. Who nobody asked to dance, the waitress, who people looked through, not at. Invisibility had been her armor, her protection. If nobody saw you, nobody could hurt you. Nobody could judge you. Nobody could find you lacking. But invisibility had a cost too. Nobody saw her struggling. Nobody saw her sacrificing. Nobody saw the choices she made, every single day, to be kind, when the world gave her every reason not to be. Maya pulled out her phone, opened Instagram, scrolled through her feed. Perfect people, perfect lives, perfect moments, filtered, curated, fake. She had 47 followers, most of them people from high school who never spoke to her. Her last post was from 8 months ago. A sunset, safe, generic, invisible. She thought about David's video. 53 letters, people who'd been inspired, changed, one person, who'd chosen to live because they saw someone else choosing kindness. Was that real? Could her story, her stupid, broken, messy story, actually matter to someone? Her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Hi Maya, it's Ethan. I know you're probably overthinking this, so I'm sending you something. No pressure, just watch it, then decide. A link appeared. Maya clicked it. A video loaded. Private, unlisted. The Kindness Initiative logo appeared, then faded. A woman's face filled the screen. Maybe 40. Tired eyes, worn hands, a nurse's uniform. My name is Patricia, she said softly. 3 years ago, I was working in an ER in Detroit, and I gave my kidney to a patient I'd never met, a 17-year-old kid who'd been on the transplant list for 4 years. His insurance wouldn't cover a living donor. So, I did it. I gave him mine. Patricia's eyes filled with tears, and I lost my job. The hospital said I'd violated protocol, that I'd created a liability. I couldn't find work. I lost my apartment. I ended up living in my car for 8 months. I thought I'd made the stupidest decision of my life. The video cut to different footage. Patricia standing in a bright office, smiling. Then Ethan found me, and he told my story and the world. Responded. People raised money, enough to pay off my debt, to get me back on my feet. But you know what mattered more? Patricia pulled out a box, opened it. Letters. Hundreds of them. These. Letters from nurses, from doctors, from strangers, telling me that I inspired them, that they'd donated kidneys too, that they'd volunteered, that they'd chosen compassion when it was hard. One letter was from the kid, the one who got my kidney. He's in college now, pre-med. He wants to be a transplant surgeon. Patricia looked directly into the camera, her voice steady, strong. Being invisible feels safe. But Maya, if you're watching this, you need to know something. Your story matters, your choice matters, not because you're special, but because you're real. Andriel is what the world needs right now. Real kindness, real sacrifice, real humanity. The video ended. Maya sat there, tears streaming down her face. Her phone clutched in her shaking hands. Her mother's voice came from the darkness. Mija, you okay? Mom, Maya's voice broke. I'm scared. I know, baby, I know. What if I do this, and people hate me? What if they say, I'm just doing it for money, for attention? What if they find out every mistake I've ever made, every time I failed? Her mother was quiet for a long moment. Then, Maya heard the wheelchair. Her mother rolled over, took Maya's hand in the darkness. Let me tell you something. When I was diagnosed with MS, I wanted to disappear. I was ashamed, broken. I didn't want anyone to see me falling apart. But you know what you did? Maya shook her head, even though her mother couldn't see. You stayed visible. For me, you worked 3 jobs. You carried me, you never hid, never ran, you showed me what strength looks like, and if you can be that brave. For me. Maybe it's time to be that brave for yourself. Maya closed her eyes, thought about the homeless kid, about his steers, about that moment when she'd chosen to give, when she had nothing. She hadn't done it for recognition, for praise, for anything, except the simple belief that kindness mattered. Maybe that was enough. Maybe that was everything. She picked up her phone, opened her contacts, found Ethan's number, typed slowly, carefully. Okay, I'll do it. When do we start? The response came immediately. Tomorrow, 9 a.m. Thank you, Maya. You won't regret this. Maya set her phone down, stared at the ceiling, and for the first time in years, she felt something strange, something unfamiliar, something that felt dangerously close to hope. 9 a.m. came too fast. Maya stood outside the Ross Foundation building, wearing the same dress from yesterday, her hands shaking so badly she could barely hold her coffee. This was real, this was happening. There was still time to run, still time to disappear back into invisibility, but she didn't run. She walked inside. The lobby was different this time, bustling, alive. A young woman with a clipboard spotted her immediately. Maya, oh my God, you're here. I'm Jessica. I'll be coordinating everything today. We're so excited to work with you. Maya followed Jessica to the elevator. What exactly happens today? Today we film your story. Just you, sitting down, talking to camera. Ethan will interview you. Very casual, very real. We want people to see the person behind the moment. Then tomorrow, we'll go to the diner, film where it happened, get some B-roll. And be Friday. Jessica's eyes sparkled. We launch Friday. 3 days. Maya felt dizzy. That's really fast. It has to be. Jessica pressed the button for the 20th floor. Stories like yours. They have a momentum, a heartbeat. We strike while the emotion is fresh, while people can still feel what you felt in that moment. The elevator opened. Ethan was waiting. He looked different, more professional, more focused. This was CEO Ethan, founder Ethan, Theman who'd built empires. Maya, you came. I almost didn't, she admitted, but you did. That's what matters. He gestured toward a room. Come on, let's tell your story. The room was simple. 2 chairs, 1 camera, soft lighting. Nothing intimidating, nothing that screamed production. Ethan sat across from her, leaned forward, and smiled. Here's how this works. He asked questions. You answer honestly, no script, no performance, just you. If you cry, you cry. If you need a break, we break. This is your story, Maya. You control it. Ready? Maya nodded. Even though she wasn't ready. Would never be ready. Okay. Ethan looked at the camera operator. A young guy with kind eyes. He gave a thumbs up. We're rolling, Maya. Tell me about that night. What were you feeling? When you saw him walk in? And just like that? Maya started talking. About the rain. About her $7. About the homeless kid's voice. About the choice. She talked about her mother. About Emma. Wait, no. Her mother. About the medication. About the eviction. About eating crackers. About being invisible, she cried. Multiple times. Ethan handed her tissues, waited, never rushed her. And slowly, carefully, he pulled out the story. Not just what happened, but why. The why behind the choice. What made you give him the food? Ethan asked softly. Maya wiped her eyes. Because I know what it's like. To be invisible. To be hungry. To feel like the world doesn't see you, and I thought, maybe if I see him, really see him. It matters, even if nobody else knows. Even if it's just 1 sandwich, it matters. Ethan was quiet for a moment then. And if you could say something to people watching this, what would it be? Maya looked directly at the camera. At the invisible audience, at the future strangers who'd watch this, I'd say, you don't have to be rich to be kind. You don't have to have everything to give something. And sometimes, the smallest act can mean everything to someone. So just see people, really see them, cut. The camera operator lowered his equipment. That was beautiful. Maya felt exposed, raw, like she'd just stripped naked in front of strangers. Was it okay? Okay. Ethan stood up, walked over, and to her surprise, hugged her. Maya. That was perfect. That was exactly what the world needs to hear. 3 days later, on Friday morning, Maya woke up to 73 text messages, 46 missed calls, and her phone completely frozen. She told her mother, her co-workers, her few friends, that the video was launching today. But she hadn't expected this. She borrowed her mother's phone, opened Instagram, and there it was, the Kindness Initiative's post, her face, the diner footage, the interview, and the caption is "Meet Maya Chen, a 28-year-old waitress who gave away her only meal to a homeless teenager. She was broke, hungry, working 3 jobs, and she chose kindness anyway. Her story will break your heart and restore your faith in humanity." Watch now. The views counter was climbing. 10,000, 20,000, 50,000. Comments were flooding in. Thousands of them. "I'm crying at my desk right now. This is the most beautiful thing I've seen all year. I just tipped my waitress $50 because of this video. Faith in humanity restored." But then, other comments. "She's just doing this for attention. Probably fake. Easy to be generous when a billionaire gives you $50K first. Why didn't she just buy him food with her own money?" Maya felt sick. She'd known this would happen. Known people would judge, criticize, question. But seeing it, reading it, hurt more than she'd imagined. Her phone buzzed. "Ethan, don't read the comments. I know you are. Stop. The positive outweighs the negative 100 to 1. You're doing amazing." Another text. From Jessica. "You're trending on Twitter. There's 3 in the US. Good Morning America wants you Monday. Can you do it?" Another. From Derek. Her manager at the diner. There are reporters here. Like, a lot of them. They want to talk to you. What do I tell them?" Maya sat on her bed, her mother's phone in her hands, watching her life change in real time. The video hit 1 million views, then 2 million, then 5. By noon, it was everywhere. TikTok, Twitter, Facebook, news sites. Everyone was watching. Everyone was talking about her and Maya Chen. The invisible waitress was invisible. No more. Monday morning, 6:47 a.m. Maya sat in a makeup chair at Good Morning America, watching a stranger transform her face. Foundation, concealer, highlighter, making her look like someone else, someone polished, someone who belonged on television. "You're gonna do great," the makeup artist whispered. "Just breathe, be yourself." But who was herself anymore? In 3 days, Maya had become a phenomenon. The video had hit 20 million views. The hashtag #MayaChenKindness was trending worldwide. Celebrities were sharing it. News outlets were covering it. People were stopping her on the street, asking for photos, calling her a hero, and Maya felt like a fraud. 5 minutes, Maya. A producer with a headset appeared. "Michael Strahan is ready for you, remember. Just relax, have fun. Tell your story." Maya nodded. Couldn't speak. Her throat was too tight. Jessica squeezed her hand. "You've got this. Millions of people are about to fall in love with you." The lights were blinding. The studio was freezing. Maya walked onto the set, her legs shaking, and sat across from Michael Strahan. He smiled warmly, genuinely. "Maya Chen, welcome. Thank you for being here." "Thank you for having me," Maya managed. "So, let's talk about that night. You gave away your only meal to a complete stranger. What was going through your mind?" And Maya told the story, again, for what felt like the 100th time. But this time, in front of millions, live, no edits, no second takes, just her, exposed, vulnerable, real. Michael leaned forward. "And you had no idea Ethan Ross was watching?" "No idea. I didn't even know who he was until he told me." "Well, he certainly knew who you were." Michael smiled. "And now so does the world. How does that feel?" How did it feel? Terrifying, overwhelming, surreal. "It feels like I'm living someone else's life," Maya admitted. "Like, any moment I'm gonna wake up, and I'll be back in the diner, with my $7. And none of this will be real, but it is real. And Maya, you've inspired millions. We've been getting messages all morning. People who've donated to homeless shelters. People who've helped strangers. All because of you. That's incredible." Maya felt tears building. I just did what anyone should do. what I hope people would do for me. The interview lasted 12 minutes. When it ended, Michael hugged her, told her she was amazing. The crew applauded. Jessica was crying. Maya felt numb, like she was floating outside her body, watching someone pretend to be her. But the real shock came 3 hours later, back at her apartment, when Maya finally checked her phone and saw the other side, a think piece on Slate. The problem with poverty porn. Why Maya Chen's story is harmful. A Twitter thread with 50,000 likes. Let's talk about how Ethan Ross is exploiting poor people for content while hoarding billions. A TikTok with 2 million views. Maya Chen is a scam. Here's proof she was paid to do this. YouTube video. The dark truth about the kindness initiative. Maya read them all. Every word. Every accusation. Every criticism. They said she was fake. That she was acting. That Ethan had paid her. That she'd planned the whole thing. That she was exploiting homeless people for fame. That she didn't deserve the money. That real poor people don't have smartphones. That she should give the 50,000 back. And the worst one. The one that broke her. A Facebook post from someone she'd gone to high school with. I knew Maya Chen. She was always a manipulative attention seeker. This is exactly the kind of stunt she'd pull. Don't believe the hype. Maya sat on her bathroom floor. Her phone in her hands, it's sobbing. This was a mistake. A terrible, horrible mistake. She should never have said yes. Should never have exposed herself. Should never have believed that her story mattered. Her mother found her there. An hour later, still crying. Mija, what happened? The interview was beautiful. Mom, Maya could barely breathe. They hate me. They think I'm fake. They think I did it for money. They think, stop. Her mother's voice was sharp, firm. Stop reading that garbage. Right now. Give me your phone. But they're right. What if they're right? What if I am just what if you're what? Her mother took the phone, set it aside, cupped Maya's face in her hands. What if you're a young woman who made a kind choice? Who told the truth? Who inspired millions, Maya? There will always be people who tear down, who criticize, who can't stand to see someone rise. But for every one person saying something cruel, there are 100 saying something beautiful. It doesn't feel that way, I know. 'Cause the cruel words, they're louder. They hurt more, but baby, they're not the truth. You know the truth. You were there. You gave that boy your food. Not for cameras. Not for money, not for fame. You did it. Because you're good. And no comment, no article. No stranger on the internet can take that away from you. Maya's phone buzzed. Her mother picked it up. Read something. Then smiled through her own tears. Listen to this. It's an email from someone named David. He says, Dear Maya, you don't know me, but 3 months ago, I was in your shoes. And I want you to know this is the hardest part. The backlash, the doubt, but I promise you, it's worth it. Because somewhere out there, someone is watching your video, and they're deciding to be kind, to help, to try, and that person will never write you a comment, will never thank you, but they'll remember, and they'll act, and that is everything. Maya wiped her eyes, took a shaky breath. Her mother was right, David was right. This was bigger than comments, bigger than critics, bigger than her fear. Another text. From Ethan. I saw the articles. I'm sorry. Want to talk? Maya picked up her phone. Typed slowly. I'm okay, well, I will be. Thank you for believing in me. Always. And Maya, check your email. From the nursing school. Something came in today. Maya opened her email. And there, at the top of her inbox, was a message from Pacific Coast University. Subject line, full scholarship offer. She read it 3 times, then 4. A full ride, tuition, books, everything. Because of the campaign. Because of the attention, because of her story. Maya looked at her mother. And for the first time since Good Morning America, she smiled. Really smiled. Mom, I'm going back to school. I know, baby. I know. And outside, in a world full of critics and supporters and strangers and noise, Maya Chen's video kept playing, kept spreading, kept inspiring. One view at a time, one heart at a time, one choice at a time. 6 months later, Maya stood in her nursing school uniform, stethoscope around her neck, looking at herself in the mirror. She barely recognized the woman staring back, not because of the uniform, but because of her eyes. They looked different, hopeful, alive, like she'd finally stopped just surviving and started living. Her phone buzzed. A text from Ethan. "Big day today. You ready?" Maya smiled. Typed back. "As ready as I'll ever be." Today was the 6-month anniversary of the campaign, and Ethan had organized something special, something he'd kept secret until now. Maya grabbed her coat, kissed her mother, who was sitting in her new wheelchair, the good one that actually worked properly, and headed out. The Ross Foundation building looked the same, but Maya felt different walking into it, confident, sure, like she belonged here. Jessica met her in the lobby. "Oh my God, you look amazing. How's school?" "Hard, exhausting, perfect." Maya grinned. "I love it. I'm so proud of you." Jessica led her to the elevator. "Okay, so today is special. We're doing a follow-up video, checking in on you, showing people what happened after. But also, there's someone here who wants to meet you." "Who?" Jessica just smiled. "You'll see." The 20th floor was packed. The whole team was there, people Maya had gotten to know over the months, people who'd become friends. They erupted in applause when she walked in. Maya felt her cheeks burn. "Guys, stop." Never, Ethan appeared. Pulled her into a hug. "Maya Chen, future nurse. Inspiration to millions. How does it feel?" "Surreal." "Always surreal." "Good." Ethan gestured toward his office. "Come on, there's someone waiting." Maya followed, her heart pounding. Who could it be? A donor? Another person from the initiative? She walked into the office and then froze, sitting in the chair. Wearing clean clothes. Looking healthy was the homeless kid. The one from the diner. The one she'd given her sandwich to. He looked up, saw her, and his eyes filled with tears. "Hi," he said softly. "I'm Marcus. I don't know if you remember me, but 6 months ago, you gave me a sandwich and you changed my life." Maya couldn't breathe, couldn't speak. She just stood there staring. Marcus stood up. "After that night, I saw your video, saw what happened, and I realized, if you could be that kind when you had nothing, maybe I could try too. So I went to a shelter, got help, got clean, and Mr. Ross, he found me through the diner and offered me a job here at the foundation." You work here?" Maya whispered. "I do. In the mailroom. It's entry level, but it's real. It's honest. And it's because of you." Marcus wiped his eyes. "I never got to say thank you, so thank you for seeing me." When everyone else looked away, Maya crossed the room and hugged him. Hard. Both of them crying, both of them remembering that rainy night. That impossible choice, that moment, that changed everything. Ethan cleared his throat. "So, here's the thing. The Kindness Initiative didn't just change your lives. It changed thousands, tens of thousands. We've tracked the impact. Maya, your video has been watched 87 million times. We've received over 40,000 messages from people who donated, who volunteered, who helped someone in need. Because of you." He pulled up a document on his computer. Homeless shelters across the country reported a 32% increase in donations. Food banks saw record volunteer numbers. And check this out. He showed her a news article. A restaurant chain, inspired by your story, started a program. Any server can give 1 free meal per shift to someone in need. No questions asked. They're calling it Maya's Meal. Maya sat down. Her legs couldn't hold her anymore. I had no idea, because you can't see it. But it's real. One choice, Maya, one act of kindness. And it rippled out. Into the world. Into places you'll never see. Into hearts you'll never know. That's the power of being brave enough to care. Marcus nodded. And I'm proof. I was ready to give up that night. Ready to just disappear. But you saw me. And it mattered. And now I'm here. Working, living, trying. Because you chose kindness when it cost you everything. Ethan looked at the camera that had been quietly recording. And that's the message we want to leave you with today. Whoever's watching this, wherever you are, you have that same power to see someone, to help someone, to choose kindness, even when it's hard, even when you're struggling, even when you have nothing left to give. Because that choice, it matters. More than you'll ever know. Maya looked into the camera, at the invisible audience, at the strangers who'd supported her, criticized her, watched her. 6 months ago, I was terrified to tell my story. I thought people would judge me, and some did. But most chose love. Most chose hope. Most chose to believe. That kindness still exists, and because of that, my life changed. Marcus's life changed. Thousands of lives changed. She took a breath, smiled. So if you're watching this, and you feel inspired, don't just watch, act, help someone. See someone, choose kindness. Because you never know. Your one choice might be the moment that changes everything. Ethan stepped forward. The kindness initiative continues. We're looking for more stories, more Mayas, more moments of humanity. If you know someone, if you've witnessed something beautiful, must share it. Tag us. Use the hashtag, because together, we can remind the world that we're not beyond hope. Not yet. Maya looked at Marcus, at Ethan, at Jessica and the team watching from outside, at her new life, her impossible life, and she thought about that rainy night, about her $7, about the choices she'd made, with no idea what would follow. Thank you, she said quietly, to everyone, to no one, to the universe that had somehow, improbably, brought her here. The camera kept rolling, capturing the moment, the truth, the proof that one person, one choice, one act of love, could change the world. If you made it this far in Maya's story, thank you. Thank you for taking the time to read about kindness, about humanity, about hope. If her story touched your heart, please hit that subscribe button, leave a like, share this video with someone who needs to hear it, because stories like this, they only matter if they spread, if they inspire, if they move us to action. And remember, you have the power to be someone's Maya, to be the person who sees, who helps, who chooses love, when the world expects selfishness. So go out there, be kind, be brave, be the change. We'll see you in the next story. Until then, keep choosing kindness.